The woman on the phone was apologizing for catching me at work when she asked how I planned to pay the remaining $18,640 on my ex-husband's wedding. I stopped with one hand inside the office refrigerator. "I'm sorry," I said. "Whose wedding?" "Evan Mercer and Claire Donnelly, this Saturday at the Glass House. My yogurt slid off the shelf and hit the floor without breaking." The woman introduced herself again as Rebecca Shaw, venue manager. She read my old address and the last 4 digits of the checking account Evan and I had opened after our honeymoon. "That account is paying for their wedding?" "It has been," she said carefully. The final withdrawal was returned. I shut the refrigerator. "Before we discuss another number, would you confirm the name listed as the account holder?" There was a pause filled with keyboard clicks. Mara Mercer. My name, my old joint account, my ex-husband's new wedding. What I couldn't understand was how he had made me part of another marriage without telling me. 2 of my co-workers came into the break room arguing about whether a burrito counted as a sandwich. I stepped around the fallen yogurt and went out the side door into the service alley, where the July heat closed around me like a wet hand. "Do you have an authorization with my signature?" I asked. "We have an electronic payment authorization in your name." "In my name or signed by me?" Another pause. "I'd prefer to send you a secure copy before I characterize it." That was a sentence people used when the ordinary answer was going to ruin someone's afternoon. I leaned against the brick wall. A delivery truck idled beside the recycling bins. Through its open window, a man was singing badly along with a country song, cheerful and completely unaware that my former life had just reached into my current bank account. "What happens to the wedding?" I asked. "At present, the event has an unpaid balance. We've also been notified that the funding account may not cover 2 pending vendor transfers." "Vendor transfers?" "Catering and rentals. Those are processed through us under the couple's package." I rubbed my forehead. "How much has already been withdrawn?" "I can give you the payments received by the Glass House. I can't tell you what the independent vendors may have charged directly." The yogurt suddenly seemed important. I had bought it because it was on sale, and then complained to myself that the good brand was 40 cents more. Meanwhile, somewhere, my money might have been buying chairs for Evan to sit in while he married someone else. Rebecca verified my email address. It was the one I had stopped using socially after the divorce, but still checked because every utility company in America seemed determined to remember me as Mara and Evan. "I'm sending the ledger and authorization now," she said. "Ms. Mercer, are you saying you did not approve these payments?" "I'm saying this is the first I've heard of Claire Donnelly." "I see. People said that when they saw something, they wished they didn't." "Please don't contact Evan yet," I said. "I can't promise that. He's the contracting client and payment is due. Give me 10 minutes. 10 minutes for what?" "To find out whether I'm broke." I hung up before she could answer. My bank app rejected my face twice because I was squinting in the sun. On the 3rd try, the old joint account appeared below my personal checking, just as it had every time I logged in for the past 11 months. I hadn't opened it since May. The balance showed negative $312.44. Underneath it, in neat blue type, was a completed overdraft transfer from my savings for $2,500. The date was Monday. Above that were earlier transfers, $1,200 in June, $2,000 in May, $800 in April. Each one had a bland confirmation number that made theft look like office furniture. I pressed the account and scrolled. Glass House Events, Belfield Floral, North County Linens, Hotel Lennox Group, a charge for $286.13 at a liquor warehouse in Evans neighborhood. I kept scrolling until my thumb started to shake. Some payments had come directly from the joint balance. Others had triggered the overdraft protection attached to my personal savings. The first Glass House deposit was 4 months old. 4 months. In March, Evan had texted me to ask whether the insurance reimbursement from the roof claim had arrived. I had told him it hadn't and reminded him that the joint account was supposed to remain untouched until the check cleared. His answer had been a thumbs up. I found the message while standing beside the recycling bins. There it was, my reasonable request, his bright yellow thumb. The side door opened and my supervisor, Denise, stuck her head out. "You okay?" "Yes." She looked down at the yogurt I was still holding. At some point, I had picked it up and carried it outside. "You planning to eat that with your hand?" I looked at it. Apparently. Denise came all the way out, letting the door close behind her. She was a compact woman who wore dramatic glasses and treated every printer malfunction as a personal betrayal. "What happened?" "My ex is getting married." "Today?" "Saturday." "Then why do you look like he's getting married to you?" "Because I'm paying for it." She waited. I showed her the account screen. Denise adjusted her glasses, studied the merchant names, then looked back at me. "Is this one of those arrangements divorced people make when they're still doing weird emotional bookkeeping?" "No." "Good. Because I was trying to find a respectful way to ask whether you'd lost your mind. I left the account open for one insurance payment. He left money in it too. We agreed neither of us would touch it. And he bought a wedding. Parts of one." "Which part is the liquor warehouse?" "With Evan, that could be structural." She almost smiled. I almost did too. Then another alert appeared. Payment declined. Glass House Events, $18,640.00. Seeing the number on my own screen changed it from Rebecca's problem into mine. The app displayed the declined payment directly above the automatic transfer that had already taken $2,500 from my savings. Denise read it over my shoulder. "Go," she said. "I have the Harland presentation at 2. You built it. I can present it." They ask questions. I'll lie confidently. I put the phone against my chest. "I can't just leave because Evan did something stupid. You can leave because somebody is draining your savings." That word bothered me. Draining sounded dramatic, like something done with a hose under cover of darkness. Evan had always made his worst behavior sound smaller than it was. Borrowing, simplifying, keeping the peace, letting Mom help. "I'll be back," I said. "No, you won't." Denise. "If you come back after discovering you financed your ex's centerpieces, I'm sending you home again out of professional concern." She opened the door and took the yogurt from me. "Do you want this?" "No." "Good, it's peach." She said it as if peach explained the whole disaster. I drove to the bank with the air conditioner blowing hard enough to lift the hair off my forehead. At the first red light, I called Evan. It rang twice before I hung up. I told myself I wanted facts first. The truth was uglier. I knew the rhythm of a conversation with him. He would sound confused, then wounded, then practical. By the end, I would be explaining why his decision had hurt me while he searched for the smallest possible version of what he had done. The bank occupied a corner of the same shopping plaza where Evan and I had once bought a discounted patio table. I could still see him trying to tie the box to the roof of our sedan, while Lorraine stood beside him, saying he was making the knots wrong. Lorraine had been right about the knots. She often was. Accuracy was one of the reasons resisting her felt so exhausting. Inside, the bank smelled like carpet cleaner and coffee. A young receptionist asked whether I had an appointment. "No, but someone is spending from my joint account." Her expression barely changed. "Are they also an owner?" "Yes." "Then let me get a banker." That was my first warning. The banker's name was Mr. Patel. He wore a navy tie and had the controlled voice of someone who spent his days explaining unpleasant rules to people who believed rules should recognize intent. He pulled up the account and asked for my identification. "Can I freeze it?" I said. "We may be able to restrict certain activity, but because Mr. Mercer is a joint owner, he has the same transactional rights you do." He agreed not to use it. Was that restriction ordered by the court or recorded by the bank? "It's in our divorce correspondence, but not in the account agreement. So he can take money I put there? As a joint owner, he can withdraw available funds. What about money pulled from my savings?" "Mr." Patel leaned closer to the screen. "The overdraft protection is linked to an account solely in your name. I know that. Mr. Mercer doesn't have access to the savings account itself. The automatic transfers are being initiated by the joint account's overdraft feature. That distinction is not comforting." "No," he said. "I don't imagine it is." He was quiet for a moment, reading through the transaction history. His lack of fake reassurance made me trust him more. "Can you remove the overdraft link?" I asked. "Yes, that will prevent additional transfers. It won't reverse completed ones. Remove it." He typed, then turned the screen slightly so I could review a disclosure. My phone buzzed on the desk. Evan. Then, beneath it, a preview of his message. "Call me before you overreact." I flipped the phone face down. Mr. Patel pretended not to notice. There's also the question of the pending insurance reimbursement, the roof claim, the last loose thread from the house. After the sale, the insurance company had agreed to reimburse us for emergency work we had paid for before closing. The check was supposed to be divided equally. "If we close the joint account now, where does that payment go?" I asked. "That depends on how it's issued. If it's made payable to both of you, depositing it into an individual account may require both endorsements." Of course, there was still a string tied between us. Evan had always been good at leaving one drawer unemptied, one bill unsettled. One reason I needed to speak to him again. Can I withdraw my share of what was in the account before these wedding charges? We can document deposits, but determining ownership between joint account holders isn't something the bank can adjudicate. What can the bank do? Remove the overdraft link, issue you a new personal account number if you're concerned, Mr. Mercer has your information, and provide complete statements. We can also place an alert requiring additional verification for certain electronic debits, but not charges he makes himself. Correct. So if he walks in here tomorrow, he can withdraw whatever is left. Mr. Patel looked at the negative balance. At the moment, there's nothing left to withdraw. The bluntness landed harder than sympathy would have. He printed 4 months of statements. The machine behind him produced each page with a soft mechanical sigh. While we waited, I opened Rebecca's email. The attached ledger listed the wedding under Evan Mercer/Claire Donnelly. The glass house had received a $4,000 reservation deposit in March, $3,200 in April, and $4,800 in June. Smaller bundled payments covered tasting fees, upgraded glassware, a greenhouse lighting package, and something called a signature departure display. I wondered what kind of departure required a signature. Then I opened the authorization. At the top was the Glass House logo, followed by the routing and account numbers for the joint checking account. The account holder field said Mara Mercer. My old address appeared beneath it. At the bottom was a slanted version of my signature. For a second, I thought Evan had forged it. Then I recognized the shape of the M, the cramped little loop where the R met the A. It was mine, not newly signed, but mine. The page carried a creation date from 6 years earlier. I stared until the bank lobby blurred around the edges. 6 years ago, Evan and I had hired a company to replace the windows in our house. The contractor had offered a discount for electronic payments, and I had signed an authorization form because Evan said he would lose it if he took it to work. I remembered sitting at our kitchen island, moving Lorraine's spare key out of the way so I could flatten the paper. This was that signature. The merchant name had been changed. The date had been changed. The payment limit had been removed. Mr. Patel returned with my statements in a white envelope. "Ms. Mercer." I held out the phone. "Can someone use an old authorization for a different company?" He read the page without touching the screen. "I can't assess the document legally. You should ask the merchant how they received it." My phone buzzed again. This time it was a message from an unknown number. "Hi, Mara. This is Claire. Evan says there's confusion about a wedding gift you offered us. Could we clear it up calmly?" I read the message twice. A wedding gift. Not an accident. Not a forgotten card. Evan had given his fiancée a story with me already inside it. Mr. Patel set the envelope on the desk. "Would you still like me to remove the overdraft protection?" I looked at my signature on Rebecca's form, cut loose from its original purpose and carried forward as if my consent had no expiration date. "Yes," I said. "Remove everything he thinks will catch him. Mr. Patel turned the monitor toward me and showed me the box marked inactive beside the overdraft link. There may be a delay before some systems reflect the change, he said. Any transfer already in process could still post. How long is a delay? Usually less than 1 business day. And unusually? He pressed his lips together. Longer. The bank had many polished ways to tell me I might still be in trouble. He helped me open a new savings account and move the remaining balance out of the old one. I changed my online password while sitting at his desk, though Evan had never known it. At least, I had never knowingly given it to him. That qualification was beginning to attach itself to everything. Claire's message stayed on my screen. Could we clear it up calmly? I typed, "There was no wedding gift. The account belongs to Evan and me. It is linked to my personal savings. I did not authorize any wedding expenses." 3 dots appeared, disappeared, then appeared again. Evan said you offered to leave your portion of the insurance money for us. That was specific enough to sound plausible. Evan's best lies usually contained one real noun. "The insurance payment hasn't arrived," I wrote. "He has spent money that was already in the account and triggered transfers from my savings." Her answer took longer. "I'm sure there's an explanation." I knew that sentence. I had said it to friends, contractors, a neighbor whose hedge Lorraine had ordered, trimmed without asking me. The sentence was a folding chair people carried into uncomfortable places so they would not have to stand. I sent one final reply. "Ask him to show you my offer in writing." Then I called Rebecca. She answered on the first ring. "Ms. Mercer?" "I'm at the bank. I've removed the overdraft protection. I need you to stop any pending withdrawals associated with my name. I can send a revocation form, but Evan is still responsible for the contract balance." "I understand. And revoking the payment authorization does not cancel the event." "I'm not asking you to cancel it." That seemed to surprise her. "All right. I want to know how you received that authorization." Rebecca lowered her voice. "It was uploaded through the client portal on March 12th. "By whom?" "The login is assigned to Evan. Did anyone speak to me?" "There's a note indicating the account holder approved use of the account." "Who made the note?" "Our sales coordinator, after speaking with Evan." I looked through the glass wall of Mr. Patel's office. A teller was helping an older man count rolled coins. Everything beyond the office seemed offensively ordinary. Did Evan say the account holder was his ex-wife? "No." "What did he say?" Rebecca hesitated. The coordinator wrote, "Family account authorized by Mara." Family account. Evan and I had spent 9 years building a private vocabulary in which family meant Lorraine could enter, borrow, decide, and be forgiven before I knew anything had happened. Apparently, divorce had not removed me from that definition. It had only removed my seat at dinner. "I'm sending the revocation now," Rebecca said. "Once I receive it, I'll put a hold on further debits. I'll also have to notify Evan that his payment method has been withdrawn." "How long before you call him?" "I was planning to call him as soon as we hung up." "Can you give me 15 minutes? You asked for 10 before." I underestimated how much nonsense was involved. A small breath escaped her. Not quite a laugh, but close. "You have 15. I signed the revocation on my phone using my finger. The signature looked like it belonged to someone falling downstairs. I attached a copy of my identification and sent it before I could think about the wedding flowers, Claire's dress, or the rows of chairs that had already been ordered using money I saved by bringing lunch to work. Then I called Evan. He answered with, "Thank God." "No," I said. "Just Mara." "Mara, listen. This got crossed up. You altered an old payment authorization." "I didn't alter anything. The glass house has my signature from a window contractor. I used the account information we already had." "With my name. It's a joint account. My name is on it, too." "Not on the authorization you sent them." Silence. I could hear dishes and voices behind him. Someone opened a bottle. A woman called, "Did she fix it?" Evan moved and the background noise softened. We were going to replace every dollar after the wedding. With what? Gifts. Claire's annual bonus. I have a commission coming. You sell commercial flooring. Yes, Mara. Commercial buildings contain a lot of flooring. It was exactly the kind of answer that used to make me laugh during arguments, breaking the tension just enough for him to escape the point. This time, it sounded rehearsed. How much have you spent? Not $18,000. That wasn't my question. A portion of the funds in that account were mine. A portion were waiting to be divided after the insurance payment, and I'm entitled to half of that. The payment hasn't arrived. He exhaled heavily. This is why I didn't want to discuss it until everything was settled. You didn't discuss it because I would have said no. We had expenses hit sooner than expected. The glass house changed its schedule. Mom said the old account could bridge us for a few weeks. There she was, a third person inside a decision about my money. You gave your mother access? I didn't give her bank access. She helped organize payments. Meaning? She had the card for some vendor appointments. The liquor warehouse, the hotel, the florist. You gave Lorraine the debit card attached to our joint account. It was in the desk. What desk? Another pause. The desk in the house had been sold with most of the office furniture. Then I understood. The storage unit. Mara, it was an old card. Old cards still work when nobody cancels them. Apparently. The casualness of that word opened something hot behind my ribs. In the background, Lorraine said, "Give me the phone." "No," Evan said. "Not to me." She said something I couldn't make out. He covered the microphone badly. "You're at her house," I said. "We're finalizing the seating chart." "With Claire?" "She went to meet the alterations person. So you and your mother are celebrating while Claire thinks I gave you a wedding." "Nobody is celebrating. We're working." A cork popped behind him, followed by Lorraine's laugh. "Put the payment back through," he said. "Just until Monday. Tuesday at the latest." "I've revoked it." "What?" "I revoked the glasshouse authorization and removed the overdraft link." His voice changed. The warmth vanished first. "You had no right to interfere with my wedding." "You put your wedding in my savings account. The venue is going to freeze the event. Then pay them." "With what, Mara?" It was the first honest question he had asked. I looked at the statement spread over Mr. Patel's desk. "That sounds like something you should have figured out before ordering a signature departure display. That was included. I'm happy for you. You think you're funny, but Claire is going to be humiliated." "Claire didn't do this." "Exactly. So don't punish her because you're angry at me." He had always been good at moving another person between himself and the consequences. Usually Lorraine. Sometimes me. "Now, Claire, did you tell her the account was a gift from me?" "I told her you were letting me use my share of the house reimbursement. Money that doesn't exist yet. I was going to replace it." "Why did the authorization name me?" "The account had your contact information. You changed the merchant on a 6-year-old form. I converted it." "Converted it into what?" "A usable document." I laughed once. I couldn't help it. That is an incredible phrase. "Mara, did Lorraine tell you to do that too?" His answer came too quickly. "Leave her out of this." Lorraine's voice moved closer. "She always has to make it personal." Then the phone scraped against something, and she was there, loud and clear. "Mara, this is a temporary cash flow issue. You know Evan is good for it." I was married to Evan. I know exactly what he's good for. He has a wedding in 3 days. You have ample savings and no immediate obligations. Why create a crisis? No immediate obligations. Lorraine had always viewed any part of my life that didn't serve her as empty space. "How do you know what's in my savings?" "I don't. But you've always been responsible. Responsible doesn't mean available." She gave a little laugh, the one she used when a server explained a policy she intended to ignore. "Oh, don't be so grim. You're still useful." The words were light, almost affectionate. In the silence after them, I waited for Evan to say something, not even an apology, just my name in the tone that meant Lorraine had gone too far. Instead, he said, "Mom, give me the phone." That was all. My marriage had ended in a lawyer's conference room, but something smaller and more stubborn ended right there, beside Mr. Patel's printer. Lorraine kept talking. "If you force us to move the wedding, those fees won't come back. That hurts everyone. You and I don't have an everyone anymore. Your things are still mixed with ours." I straightened. "What does that mean?" "The storage unit. Half the furniture in there is taking up space, and Evan is paying the monthly fee. We split the fee. Not this month. This month isn't due until Friday." "Well, perhaps we should liquidate a few items. There's a dining set no one is using." My dining set. Walnut with a pale mark near one corner where Evan had set down a hot pan after insisting he didn't need a trivet. "You don't own it." "It's in a unit rented under Evan's name. It's rented under both our names. Then I suggest you and Evan cooperate." I heard him in the background telling her to stop, but his voice had the tired, useless quality it always had after he let her say the thing he wanted said. "You're threatening to sell my belongings if I don't pay for the wedding." Threatening is such an ugly word. Most accurate ones are. I hung up. Mr. Patel had become deeply interested in aligning the corners of my bank statements. "Sorry," I said. "You don't need to apologize. I've been trained." That made him look up. He slid the envelope toward me. "The overdraft link is removed. I also added the verification alert. You should monitor both accounts through tomorrow." "Can I have something showing the transfers came from my individual savings?" He printed another report circling the source account and destination account on each transaction. "Keep these," he said, "and save the original electronic files, not only screenshots." I thanked him and left carrying more paper than I had brought into my divorce. In the parking lot, Claire called. Her voice was lower than I expected, calm with effort. I spoke to Evan. "How did that go?" "He says you knew he planned to use the account." "He's lying. He says there was a verbal agreement." "There wasn't. He says you're upset because you found out about the wedding from the venue." "I'm upset because the venue found out about me from my bank account." She breathed in slowly. Somewhere near her, a sewing machine rattled. "I don't want to be in the middle of whatever is left between you two." "Then ask him why he put you there." "That's convenient." "It's not. Convenient would have been learning about you from a holiday card." Her voice sharpened. "I'm not asking for your approval." "I haven't offered an opinion about you." "You froze my wedding." "I stopped paying for it." The sewing machine went quiet. Claire said, "He told me Lorraine contributed the deposit. The deposit came out of the joint account. I saw her transfer money." "When?" "In March, at the venue. She handled it. Then she used the old debit card Evan left in storage." Claire said nothing. I could picture her sorting backward through moments that had seemed generous at the time. Lorraine volunteering to handle a deposit, Evan saying the account was family money, both of them creating the impression of a gift without ever letting Claire see where it began. "I can send you the statements," I said. "I don't need your private financial records. They're already inside your wedding. That's not fair." "No, it isn't." She ended the call. I drove home instead of returning to work. My apartment was on the second floor of a converted brick building with narrow stairs and a front door that stuck in damp weather. When I entered, I automatically dropped my keys into a ceramic saucer on the console table. The sound was wrong. For years, my keys had landed in green glass. I went to the hall closet and moved a vacuum attachment, 2 winter scarves, and a box labeled Evan Misk. The bowl was underneath, wrapped in a faded dish towel. The crack ran from the rim almost to the center. Lorraine had called it a flaw that was probably already there. Evan had agreed until I found a photograph from the week before, the glass hole and shining beside our front door. I had discovered the bowl in the garage behind a bag of grass seed. Evan said he put it there because I was too attached to things and needed time to calm down before seeing it. He had not protected me from Lorraine breaking it. He had protected Lorraine from my reaction. My phone rang on the closet floor. It was the storage facility. A woman named Tasha said someone had called asking how to remove one leaseholder and authorize the sale of abandoned contents. Since my number was still listed on the account, she needed to verify whether I had agreed. No, I said. All right, I'll note the dispute. Access will remain available to both leaseholders, but we can't mediate ownership of individual items. Can anyone else enter? Each leaseholder can designate an authorized guest. Is Lorraine Mercer authorized? Keys clicked. She was added this morning. I set the green bowl carefully on the floor. Can I remove her? Not without the consent of the leaseholder who added her. Of course. I'd recommend you retrieve any personal property you're concerned about, Tasha said. Soon. I unwrapped the bowl completely. Inside it, under a layer of dust, lay a small brass key on a green plastic tag. Unit 314. For once, Evan had forgotten which of my things still opened a door. I called a moving company before Evan could remember the key. The dispatcher told me they had a cancellation and could send 2 men with a truck at 4. The minimum charge was 3 hours. I'll take it. What are we moving? A dining set, 8 boxes, and anything else with my name on it. She waited to see if I was joking. I'll put down household goods. I photographed the brass key, the green tag, and the cracked bowl where they lay on the closet floor. Then I put the key in my pocket and carried the bowl to the kitchen counter. Dust had settled inside the crack. I rinsed it carefully and left it upside down on a towel. At work, Denise answered my call with, "Tell me you're not coming back." I'm not coming back. Excellent judgment. I need a favor. Less excellent. I told her about the storage unit and the movers. Do you want me there? She asked. I can handle Evan. That wasn't my question. The answer lodged somewhere behind my sternum. I had spent years insisting I could handle things that should never have been mine to handle alone. Yes, I said. If you can. I can. She met me outside the storage facility at 3:45 carrying 2 iced coffees and a permanent marker. Her glasses were bright red now. She changed frames according to mood. What's the marker for? I asked. Labeling. I already labeled the boxes. Then emotional support. Tasha was behind the front desk. She had a silver ring through one eyebrow and the guarded patience of someone accustomed to couples screaming about couches. I put a note on the unit, she said. Both leaseholders retain access. I can't prevent Mr. Mercer or his guest from entering. Did either of them come back? His guest did. My stomach tightened. Lorraine. Tasha nodded. She was here for 20 minutes. She left without removing anything. Did she go into the unit? Yes. Denise handed me one of the coffees. Should I use the marker now or later? Tasha's mouth twitched. We took the elevator to the 3rd floor. The hallway was cool and smelled faintly of cardboard. Unit 314 was halfway down, its metal door secured by the round lock Evan and I had bought at the front desk the day we moved out of the house. The brass key opened it. I lifted the door and found my dining table pushed against the entrance, its legs wrapped in old towels. 4 chairs were stacked behind it. Lorraine had prepared it to leave. A yellow sticky note clung to the tabletop. Antique walnut dining set. $1,200 OBO. Denise read it over my shoulder. Is it antique? It's from a furniture outlet in Raleigh. So we're dealing with fraud at every level. I pulled off the note and stuck it to my shirt. Behind the table were the remains of a life arranged by category. Kitchen, office, Christmas, Mara's books, Evan's records. The moving company had written Garage Misc on 6 boxes as if that described a meaningful branch of human existence. The old desk sat along the right wall. Its top drawer was open. Inside were empty envelopes, dried pens, and the white cardboard sleeve that had once held the joint account's debit card. Lorraine had not guessed. She had known exactly where to look. Denise moved deeper into the unit. Which boxes are your mother's? Blue tape. We found all 8 along the back wall, buried behind a rolled rug and Evan's golf clubs. One had been opened. The flaps were folded inward, exposing framed photographs and a stack of table linens. I crouched beside it. My mother had used those linens at nearly every dinner she hosted after moving into her condo. She liked cloth napkins because she believed paper ones made people hurry. The green bowl had come from the same table. It wasn't valuable. None of it was. That had never been the point. Denise touched my shoulder. Anything missing? I don't know. That was the problem with someone entering your things. They didn't have to take anything to make you feel loss. They only had to leave you uncertain. The movers arrived, and we began identifying what belonged to me. My divorce settlement included a property schedule, but the copy on my phone was buried in a 6-month-old email from my attorney. I found it while one mover leaned on a dolly and the other politely pretended not to listen. Dining table and 6 chairs. Wife. Personal effects marked with blue tape. Wife. I showed Tasha the document. She photographed the relevant page for the facility record. The movers had loaded the boxes and 4 chairs when Evan stepped off the elevator. He wasn't dressed for a seating chart anymore. His shirt was untucked, and a damp line ran along his collar. He looked like the version of himself who used to come home after a client changed a flooring order at the last minute. Frustrated, tired, expecting the house to absorb him. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Moving my property." "You called the facility and made them think we're criminals." I told them I didn't authorize a sale. Mom wasn't selling anything. I plucked the yellow note from my shirt and handed it to him. He read it. His face changed, but only briefly. She was trying to establish value. With OBO, "Mara, can we talk privately?" Denise lifted her coffee. "I'm not listening. I'm judging, but silently." Evan glanced at her. "Hi, Denise." "Still Evan, I see." He walked farther down the hall. I followed until we were beyond the open unit but still visible to everyone. "The venue gave us until tomorrow at noon," he said. "If we don't provide another payment source, they release the date, then provide one. I can't pull $18,000 together overnight." "What happened to Claire's bonus?" "It's not liquid yet." "Your commission next month." "Lorraine's money?" His jaw shifted. "She has a certificate that hasn't matured, so she can access it. With a penalty." I stared at him. He heard it then. Saying it aloud had finally made the arithmetic ugly enough for him to see. Lorraine could pay. She simply preferred that I lose money instead of her losing interest. "It's more complicated than that," he said. "It's exactly that complicated. We're asking you to float it for 4 days. You already floated $9,000 out of my savings. We'll repay that too." "When?" "After the gifts are deposited. You're planning to repay your ex-wife with money people give you to begin your new marriage." He dragged a hand across his mouth. "Stop saying it like that." "How should I say it?" "Like you know me." I looked at him leaning against the gray storage wall, one shoe scuffed from the way he dragged his foot when he was anxious. I knew the small notch in his eyebrow, the shirt he wore when he wanted to look serious without wearing a jacket, the exact point in an argument when he would become gentle, because force had failed. "That's the problem," I said. "I do." His face softened anyway. I was trying to get one thing right. The line nearly worked. Evan had always wanted events to go smoothly. He liked clean arrivals, confirmed reservations, the right bottle of wine already open. Our marriage had been full of beautiful evenings arranged over problems we never solved. "Claire wanted the glass house," he said. "The first venue fell through and this date opened. We had to put down the deposit that day. Mom said we could use the old account until the reimbursement came." "And you thought I'd agree?" "I thought you'd be mad. That isn't an answer." He looked through the open unit at the movers carrying my table away. "I thought you'd let it happen before you let a payment fail." There it was, quieter than Lorraine's laugh and worse. He had not believed I consented. He had believed my discomfort with disorder was a form of consent he could activate whenever he needed it. "My savings wasn't your backup plan. For 9 years, we were each other's backup plan. We're divorced. That doesn't erase everything. No. Apparently, it doesn't erase my account number. His eyes hardened. You don't have to enjoy this. I don't. You do a little. That hit because it was not entirely false. There was a thin, bright satisfaction in watching him face a deadline he could not hand to me. I hated that satisfaction, and I refused to let him use my shame about it as a door. I'm allowed to enjoy saying no, I said. He folded his arms. Then say yes to one meeting. Tomorrow morning at the venue. Rebecca wants written confirmation about the authorization. Mom will bring a repayment agreement. Written by whom? Her accountant. I'm not signing another authorization. Just come hear the offer. Release me from the storage lease. What? Sign the removal form today. My property leaves, my name comes off, and I stop paying half for your things. That leaves me with the full rent. Yes. That's leverage. I glanced at the yellow sale note in his hand. You taught me. He looked toward the unit. Denise was directing the movers with the marker tucked behind one ear. Come to the meeting, he said. I'll sign the storage release there. No, sign it downstairs before I decide whether to come. He studied me as if searching for the part that usually bent. Then he walked to the elevator. Tasha printed the form. Evan signed with enough pressure to leave an impression on the pages underneath. I signed after him, and Tasha stamped the change effective at the end of the billing period. It was a small thing. 1 monthly charge, 1 metal room full of objects. My hands shook when she gave me the copy. Outside, the movers secured the dining table in the truck. Evan stood beside his car, typing furiously. He did not look up when we passed. Denise waited until we were on the road before saying, That seemed healthy. You threatened him with a marker. I contained myself. At my apartment, the movers carried the table up the narrow stairs and discovered it would not turn through the doorway without removing the legs. The 3-hour minimum became 4. 1 chair scraped the wall. Denise ordered pizza and argued with a mover about whether pineapple was a fruit or a character defect. The ordinary inconvenience helped. Revenge, if that was what this was becoming, still required finding the little wrench that fit the table bolts. After everyone left, my apartment looked crowded but mine. The blue-taped boxes filled one wall. My mother's linens were intact. The photographs were still there. At the bottom of the open box, I found a tube of clear glass adhesive I had bought months earlier and forgotten. I set it beside the cracked green bowl. My phone showed an email from Rebecca confirming that my authorization had been revoked. No further glasshouse or bundled vendor charges would be submitted to the account. Evan's contract remained active until the payment deadline. Below it was a message from Lorraine with an attachment titled Repayment Assurance. Mara, we are prepared to reimburse all documented personal funds within 30 days. This unnecessary disruption can end if you attend tomorrow and behave reasonably. I opened the document. Lorraine promised repayment without admitting the amount, the source of the charges, or any responsibility if wedding gifts were insufficient. The last paragraph required me to release all objections related to prior account usage. She wanted my money and a receipt, proving I had agreed to lose it. I forwarded the document to myself with the statements, authorization, and bank transfer report. Then I sent Claire the glasshouse ledger and the altered form. Nothing else. 10 minutes later, she called. I'm looking at the signature page, she said. Her voice sounded stripped down now. Evan told me you signed this in March. I signed it 6 years ago for replacement windows. And Lorraine told me the account was hers. It isn't. Claire was quiet. I gave Evan $6,000, she said, for the honeymoon and remaining expenses. He told me the venue was already paid. I closed my eyes. Do you know where your $6,000 went? No. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. The silence between us had changed. It was no longer a wall. It was a table with evidence spread across it. Rebecca asked me to come in tomorrow morning, Claire said. Evan said it was only a payment meeting. It's also about the authorization. He left that part out. He leaves out the part standing between him and what he wants. Her breath caught. almost a laugh and almost not. "Are you coming?" she asked. I looked at the repayment agreement, then at the adhesive beside the broken bowl. "Yes." "Good," Claire said. "I want him to explain it while all 3 names are in the room." The glass house looked exactly like the kind of place Evan would choose after telling everyone he wanted something simple. Steel-framed windows rose 2 stories around a room filled with pale morning light. Vines climbed the interior brick walls. Long wooden tables waited beneath hanging glass bulbs, and at the far end a florist was building an arch from white roses and eucalyptus. It was beautiful enough to make bad decisions look intentional. Rebecca met me in the lobby. She wore a black dress, low shoes, and an expression that said she'd already handled 3 emergencies before 9. "Thank you for coming," she said. "I haven't agreed to anything." "I understand." "Does Evan?" "He understands that your written authorization is required for any further debit from the account." "That wasn't my question." Her mouth tightened. "Probably not." She led me into a small conference room overlooking the main hall. Evan sat at one end of the table with Lorraine beside him. Claire sat on the other side, a full chair between them. Lorraine had dressed for battle disguised as brunch. Cream jacket, gold earrings, lipstick, the color of a warning label. In front of her sat a leather folder and 2 copies of the repayment assurance. Evan looked like he had not slept. Claire looked as if she had slept and disliked what morning confirmed. No one said hello. Rebecca took the center chair and placed a file on the table. "We have 45 minutes before our operations meeting," she said. "At that point, I need to advise the event team whether this wedding remains on tomorrow's schedule." Lorraine leaned forward. "It will remain." Rebecca glanced at her. "The contracting clients are Evan and Claire. I'm financing the resolution. Then I'm sure your contribution will be useful." I looked down before Lorraine could catch my smile. Evan began with my name in the gentle tone. "Mara, Mom revised the agreement. It still doesn't state how much you owe me. We can insert the final number after reviewing the statements. I sent you the statements. You sent Claire the statements." "And she sent them to me," Evan said, turning a look toward her. Claire folded her arms. "You told me Mara signed the authorization in March." "I said we had authorization. You said she gave us the money. I said she agreed to let us use the account." "I'm sitting here," I said. "You don't have to discuss what I said as if I died." Lorraine opened her folder. "The current personal funds total appears to be $6,500. We are willing to round that up to $7,000. That leaves out the balance already in the account, which belonged equally to Evan. Some of it did. Then establish your portion." I did. My deposits after the house sale were $7,200. Evan's were $3,800. We each made withdrawals for agreed expenses before the divorce was final. The balance left after that was supposed to sit until the insurance reimbursement arrived. Lorraine tapped one manicured nail on the agreement. Joint money is joint money. "Then why did you tell Claire it was yours?" Claire turned to her. "I'd like an answer to that, too." Lorraine's nail stopped. "I said I was handling the deposit," she replied. "You said, 'I've set aside money for Evan's wedding.'" I had. In Mara's account? This fixation on which account held which dollars is making a straightforward family loan sound sordid. "It wasn't a loan," I said. "Loans are offered." Rebecca opened the file. "Before we discuss reimbursement, I need to establish whether the venue has valid authorization to collect the outstanding balance. My understanding from Ms. Mercer's revocation is that it does not." Lorraine pushed one of her agreements toward me. "We can solve that now. Sign this, restore the overdraft arrangement, and let the venue process the balance. I'll pay you within 30 days. "With money from where?" "My certificate. The one you won't cash because of the penalty?" She gave Evan a sharp look. He shifted in his chair. "We don't need to get into everyone's finances. We got into mine." Lorraine straightened. "The early withdrawal penalty is significant." "How significant?" "That's private." I looked at the $18,640 figure on Rebecca's ledger. More than that? No. So this entire crisis exists because you'd rather I pay thousands than you lose hundreds. It exists because you decided to revoke a payment during an active event week. Rebecca's voice remained calm. The payment method was revoked because the named account holder disputed the authorization. You accepted it, Lorraine said. We accepted it based on information supplied through Evan's client portal. The room became very still. Rebecca removed the authorization from the file and laid it in the center of the table. Behind it, she placed a copy of the original upload record. The electronic file shows that this document was edited 2 days before it was submitted to us, she said. Our compliance office compared it with the image Ms. Mercer provided. The merchant field, date, and payment terms are inconsistent with the signature layer. Evan stared at the paper. Lorraine said, "Signature layer?" "It appears the signed section came from another document." "I converted a form we already had," Evan said. Claire turned to him. "You told me she signed it for our wedding." "I told you she'd agreed. She's telling you she didn't. She's angry." That was when Claire's face changed, not dramatically. Something simply closed. "That's your explanation?" she asked. "She's angry, so her answer doesn't count?" "I'm saying we had conversations before the divorce about leaving enough money to settle the house expenses. A wedding is not a house expense." "No, but my share was available." "Then why didn't the authorization use your name?" Evan looked toward me almost accusingly, as if I had placed the question in Claire's mouth. "The old form had Mara's signature," he said. "That's not an answer." "It was faster." Claire sat back. "Where is my $6,000? We discussed this. You talked, I didn't get an answer. It covered deposits." "Which deposits?" "Travel, the band, some catering overages." "The Glasshouse ledger says catering came from Mara's account." "Not all of it." Rebecca checked a page. "The primary catering deposits were included in our bundled transfers." Claire looked at Evan. "Show me where my money went." "I don't have every receipt in front of me." "You knew this meeting was about money." "I knew this meeting was about fixing the venue payment." "No," she said. "You knew that's what you wanted it to be about." Lorraine placed her hand over Claire's wrist. "This is stress. Everyone is exhausted and the event is close. Don't make permanent decisions inside a temporary problem." Claire removed her hand. I had seen Lorraine use that touch at restaurants, in stores, once at my own dining table. It looked soothing from across the room. Up close, it was a lid. "Did you know the form was old?" Claire asked her. Lorraine's gaze flicked toward Evan. That was answer enough. "You stood beside me while I transferred $6,000, Claire said. "You let me thank you for paying the venue." "I was protecting Evan from unnecessary embarrassment." "From me?" "From a complicated financial discussion days before the wedding." "That was 4 months ago." Lorraine's composure thinned. "You were happy. I didn't see a reason to introduce conflict when the money would be replaced." Claire looked at me. I knew what she saw because I had once seen it in a bathroom mirror after Lorraine used my house key to enter during dinner and rearrange the kitchen while we were out. Not shock, recognition. The humiliating understanding that several confusing moments had not been separate moments at all. Evan reached for Claire's hand. She moved it beneath the table. "Mara," he said, "none of this changes the immediate problem. If we lose the date, we lose the deposits. Vendors are already working. People have traveled." I looked through the glass wall at the florist on a ladder, wiring greenery to the arch. His assistant passed him white roses one at a time. "I know," I said. "Then don't do this." "I'm not doing it." "You know what I mean?" "I know exactly what you mean. You're asking me to make your decision disappear before anyone important has to feel it." "You were important." The words came out fast. For one dangerous second, I saw our kitchen at night, Evan barefoot on the tile, handing me a glass of water while I finished our taxes. I saw him tightening the loose screw on my desk chair without being asked. I saw the man who knew I hated driving in heavy rain and called to make sure I got home. People did not become strangers just because they failed you. That would have been easier. I was useful, I said. His eyes dropped. Lorraine made an impatient sound. We do not have time for archaeology. No, Claire said. We have 45 minutes for the rest of my life. Rebecca glanced at the clock. 28 now. It was such a Rebecca thing to say that a startled laugh escaped Claire. Even Evan smiled before remembering himself. Then Rebecca placed a clean payment authorization beside the old one. If the outstanding balance is to be charged to the account ending in the digits shown here, I need authorization from the person whose name is attached to this payment file. I put my palm flat on the table. Confirm one name for me, I said. Who is the account holder on the authorization? Rebecca met my eyes. Mara Mercer. Lorraine pushed the repayment agreement closer. Evan whispered, "Please." Claire watched me without asking for anything. "The answer is no," I said. Rebecca removed the clean form. "Then the account cannot be used." Lorraine snapped her folder shut. "Fine, I'll call the bank." "I'm not getting married tomorrow," Claire said. Evan stared at her. "What?" "I'm not signing a marriage license while you're asking another woman to finance the room. I'm fixing it. You're trying to get through Saturday. That's not the same thing. We can talk after the honeymoon." That sentence is why there won't be a honeymoon. Lorraine turned on her. "Do you understand what cancellation costs?" Claire's voice stayed level. "Better than I did yesterday." Rebecca explained the options. If payment was not made by noon, the date would be released. Because food, rentals, flowers, and staffing were already committed, cancellation fees would still be due under Evan and Claire's contract. Some travel deposits could be credited, others could not. Claire asked for a separate accounting of anything tied to her card or name. Evan kept saying they should speak privately. She kept saying they had done enough privately. I gathered my papers. "You're leaving?" Lorraine asked. "This is no longer my payment meeting." "What about the money already taken?" "I'll send Evan a demand for the documented amount. You won't win a claim against a joint owner. Maybe not for every debit. The altered authorization is different." Rebecca said nothing, which carried more weight than if she had agreed. Evan followed me into the lobby. "Mara." I stopped beside a table arranged with little glass cards bearing tomorrow's planned menu. "I'll pay you back," he said. "You said that before. I mean it. You usually mean things while you're saying them." He flinched. Through the conference room window, Claire stood, while Lorraine talked at her with both hands raised. Claire wasn't looking at Lorraine. She was looking at the old authorization. "I didn't think it would become this," Evan said. "You did notice the risk. You counted on me containing it." He looked toward the bright hall, the unfinished arch, the tables waiting for people who would not sit at them. "I just wanted one clean start. You can't build one with an old signature. I left him there." The insurance reimbursement arrived 12 days later. Evans half covered most of what had been pulled from my savings. My attorney's demand included the bank reports, Rebecca's file record, and the original window form. His attorney replied with a shorter letter than I expected. We settled without going to court. Evans signed a repayment agreement for the remaining amount, with fixed monthly transfers and an acknowledgement that I had never authorized the wedding charges. Lorraine paid the venue and vendor cancellation fees from the certificate she had refused to touch for me. Claire recovered part of her travel deposit. She did not tell me whether she and Evan were finished. I did not ask. The last message she sent said, "Thank you for answering me directly." By September, the dining table fit into my apartment as if the room had been waiting for it. I cleaned the crack in the green glass bowl and worked dark resin into it, leaving the repaired line visible from rim to center. When it dried, I placed the bowl beside my front door. I came home that evening, turned the lock behind me, and dropped my key into the glass. One key. The sound was clear and whole.